Welcome to Startups. I'm your host, Aiden Spark. Today on Startups, ever felt dismissed, your ideas ridiculed? Today, we uncover the relentless spirit of George de Mestral, a man whose simple frustration with burrs ignited a global revolution, but only after a gauntlet of no's that would crush most people. What does it take to turn rejection into rocket fuel, and how can your ignored idea become a legacy? Have you ever stared at a problem so long it transformed into possibility? In 1941, on a crisp autumn morning in the Swiss Alps, an engineer named George de Mestral found himself locked in an oddly familiar battle. His weathered hands picked frantically at the burrs clinging to his hunting trousers, while his dog whimpered nearby, equally plagued by nature's stubborn hitchhikers. But this time was different. This time, frustration sparked curiosity. Most people would brush away such an annoyance and continue their day, but George wasn't most people. As his fingers worked to detach each tiny burr, his mind began to race. What made these natural nuisances so persistently clingy? What secrets lay hidden in their design? While others saw inconvenience, George saw innovation waiting to be unleashed. You see, George had always viewed the world through different eyes. As a child, while his peers chased each other through Swiss meadows, he spent countless hours examining insects under magnifying glasses, dismantling mechanical toys, and dreaming up new inventions. At just 12 years old, he had already patented his first creation, a toy airplane. That same curiosity now fixed itself upon these seemingly simple burrs. Back in his workshop, George placed a burr under his microscope. What he discovered would change the future of fastening forever: tiny hooks. Thousands of them, each perfectly engineered by nature to grab onto passing fibers. In that moment, a revolutionary idea began to form. What if he could recreate this natural mechanism artificially? But here's where most stories of innovation hit their first wall, because having a brilliant idea is one thing. Bringing it to life is another entirely. When George approached textile manufacturers with his concept, their reactions ranged from skeptical smirks to outright dismissal. Picture yourself in Lyon, France, 1948. The air thick with cotton dust, the rhythmic clang of weaving machines creating an industrial symphony. Here in cramped workshops, George spent years perfecting his design. Each failure taught him something new. Each setback pushed him to innovate further. The challenge wasn't just creating hooks. It was creating hooks that would last, that would work consistently, that could be manufactured at scale. Time ticked by, money dwindled. Friends and family questioned his obsession. But George persisted, driven by an unshakable belief in his vision. After countless experiments, he discovered that nylon, when sewn under infrared light, could form perfect, tiny hooks. This was the breakthrough he had been waiting for. But even with a working prototype, George faced his toughest challenge yet: convincing the world to embrace something entirely new. Fashion designers wrinkled their noses at the unusual appearance. Manufacturers balked at retooling their factories. The textile industry, steeped in tradition, resisted change at every turn. His invention needed a champion, someone who could see beyond convention. That champion would come from the most unexpected place: space itself. If you're enjoying Startups, please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code for our free 7-day email course, Become an Innovation Engine. Steal exact frameworks of billion-dollar breakthroughs like Netflix and Tesla. Now, back to the episode. In the early 1960s, NASA faced a unique challenge. How could astronauts secure items in zero gravity? Traditional buttons and zippers proved cumbersome in bulky spacesuits. When NASA discovered George's invention, by then branded as Velcro, they immediately recognized its potential. Suddenly, the impractical fastener became indispensable for space exploration. The world watched as astronauts used Velcro to secure everything from tools to food pouches. What was once dismissed as a curiosity was now essential technology in humanity's greatest adventure. This validation transformed Velcro's reputation overnight. Industries that had once shut their doors now came knocking. Success didn't make George complacent. He continued refining his invention, exploring new applications, pushing boundaries. Velcro found its way into medical equipment, automotive interiors, military gear, and countless everyday items. The simple observation of burrs clinging to fabric had revolutionized how we fasten things together. But here's what most people miss about George's story. It wasn't just about creating a product. It was about maintaining unwavering faith in an idea when everyone else said no. It was about seeing possibility where others saw problems. It was about understanding that nature's annoyances might actually be elegant solutions in disguise. Think about the daily frustrations in your own life. What if they're not actually obstacles? What if, like those stubborn burrs on George's trousers, they're trying to tell you something? Your greatest innovation might be hiding in plain sight, disguised as an everyday annoyance. The next time you encounter a persistent problem, resist the urge to brush it aside. Instead, examine it closely. Ask yourself, what's the underlying mechanism at work? What could this teach me? What if this irritation is actually an invitation to innovate? George de Mestral passed away in 1990, but his legacy lives on in billions of hook-and-loop fasteners used daily around the world. His story reminds us that breakthrough innovations don't always announce themselves with fanfare. Sometimes they cling to us, refusing to let go until we pay attention. The question isn't whether you'll encounter problems today. You will. The question is, will you brush them away or will you look closer? Will you let frustration fuel your curiosity? Will you have the courage to pursue an idea even when others dismiss it? Remember, sometimes the simplest annoyances hold the greatest potential for innovation. Your next great idea might not come from a boardroom or laboratory. It might come from a walk in the woods, from a persistent problem that refuses to let go. The only question is, are you paying attention? On the next episode of Startups, de Mestral's relentless pursuit of a simple solution transformed an entire industry. But what happens when audacious vision meets the burgeoning world of personal computing? What if I told you that a childhood friendship and a shared passion for coding would birth a technological revolution? Next time, discover how determination, a little bit of luck, and an insatiable hunger for innovation led to the rise of a global empire. You'll want to stick around to see how the next hero's bold risks Resh aped our world, embodying the spirit of ingenuity and problem solving. And speaking of taking risks, next week, we're diving headfirst into stories of risk-taking and boldness, exploring individuals who dared to defy conventions and gamble on their vision. Get ready for tales of audacious moves and nail-biting decisions that change the course of history. Please like, subscribe, and scan the QR code, or follow the pinned link to get our free 7-day email course. Become an innovation engine. 7 days, $7 billion frameworks. Transform from idea person to startup innovator by learning the exact playbooks that built Netflix, Tesla, and SpaceX. Click the video that just popped up to watch the next one in this series. Or for episode summaries, behind-the-scenes info, and more, go to daily8.com/su. Thanks for watching.